Sunday, fan clan. What is going on? I hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you're having a really good weekend. Have you opened up any of the new products from Scarlet and Violet 151? UPC is really probably the most popular item, but also I do like the Alakazam EX box. The mini tins, obviously the best bang for your buck outside of the booster bundle, which is being scalped like crazy, so don't even worry about that one. And then we've got the Zapdos EX box as well. How have your pulls been? What have you seen so far? Don't forget, a reprint of Elite Trainer boxes or a restock of Scarlet and Violet 151 Elite Trainer boxes is scheduled to come out at the end of October. So if you haven't opened up that much yet, or looking to get maybe waiting a little bit, hoping prices go down well below MSRP, definitely keep watching the market as more and more people open, more product comes out, stores look at selling some of that off so that they can pay for their next invoice. It's a waiting game. You know, it's all about the waiting game. So we're going to talk today about full art. I don't like the terminology waifu. We're going to talk about full art supporters, full art trainers, specifically ones that are moving in the downward direction. So there's a lot that are doing well, but there's really a lot over the last 3 months, and we haven't talked about the full art supporters that much over the past few months, but there's a lot that's happened over the last few months where a lot of them have backed off a little bit. So we saw some consistency where it looked like a lot of modern full art trainers were really getting bought out to kind of follow suit with what was happening with a lot of older trainers, so trainers from the black and white era. And now that attention has kind of fizzled, a lot of them moving backwards to the point where maybe they're lower than what they were before they even started their meteoric rise a year ago. So we're going to look at 3 months of data here. You can let me know what you think in the comments section down below. If you appreciate the content, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment. You guys know the drill. It goes a really long way for the algorithm. But we're going to start out looking at Irida, a very popular card. However, one of the things that Pokemon does have going against it is they do reprint cards quite a bit, and they reprint a lot of full art cards quite a bit. Obviously, Irida having a full art supporter in Crown Zenith, as well as what we saw in Astral Radiance, and then you have a bunch of different copies. You have the holographic version, or Brilliant Stars. You have the holographic version. You also have a non-holographic version that appeared in build and battle boxes. So while Irida is a little bit competitive, it's not as competitive as it used to be. Definitely trending in the backwards direction over the past 3 months. You can see in July 6th, July 7th, somewhere around there, it was up to $31.90. It's lost about 30% of its value over the past 3 months, which is huge, very significant, down to $22.05. So if you're somebody who's looking at adding an Irida to the collection, definitely pay attention to these dips that we're seeing in a lot of full art supporters. So definitely trending in the opposite direction right now. Sitting at a 3-month low currently. Rosa, there are a couple ones in here that I did want to highlight that are continuing to climb and still moving in the upward direction. Now, Rosa has been a little bit consistent over the past couple of weeks. It's been a little flat, but you can see in July 6th, it was down to 207.54. So that was its low point over the past 3 months, and it's basically gone up over 10% over the next 3 months. So once you see some of these cards hit above that $200 mark, it's kind of like, well, are they going to slow down now? Because $200 is a lot of money for a modern card. You're looking at paying $200 for a decent copy of a base set Charizard, and you have some modern cards that are really obviously Umbreon VMAX. There's some other cards as well, but continuing to climb, which just kind of shows you the demand a little bit. This one of those cards that just continues to climb, sitting at $230.66. The other interesting tidbit of information for Rosa is that Cosmic Eclipse is one of those sets from the Sun and Moon block that continues to just find its way into different products. So we saw it in the Arceus figure collection box. We've seen it show up at Target and at Walmart, and some of these Galarian Rapidash boxes that have come out, or some of these random boxes that have come out. There's just Cosmic Eclipse packs. So more roses being open and continuing to trend in the upward direction, which is very interesting. The Hat Lily not being able to perform anywhere near the level of the Ultra Prism Lily, and this card has lost a lot of value over the past 3 months after seeing some huge gains over the span of about 6-7 months. So you can see in July of 2023, July 6th, beginning of July, this was at $120.63. So very, very high, considering a year ago this card was selling for about $40-50. Jumped up in July to that $120-121 mark, and now it's just been losing a ton of value. It's lost almost $50 worth of value. So almost, I mean, that's about 40% of its value over the past 3 months. It's sitting at $73.68 currently. Now, Sun and Moon base pack still relatively cheap compared to a lot of other packs that are out there from the Sun and Moon block, so more lilies being opened, but this is a significant drop over the past 3 months. Very, very interesting to see. If we look at the Skyla, this is one of those cards that was getting bought out quite a bit. This is the version from Champion's Path. Obviously, there's a couple other versions, the Breakpoint version and and the one from, I think it was Boundaries Cross, one of the black and white sets. But in July, beginning of July, it was sitting at $22.48. Now it's lost about 30% of its value over the past 3 months. And I mean, Shining Fates has been printed like crazy. So this Skyla being from Shining Fates, not Champions Path, but this Skyla is a lot more being open. And Shining Fates got printed to absolutely just this huge amount, and people continuing to open packs left and right, meaning it's going to be tough for any card in that set to really maintain value. Obviously, we've seen the Charizard in that set drop down to about $70. Skyla also following like crazy, sitting at $13.52 currently. Here's the Miriam from Scarlet and Violet base set. Remember, this card was selling for over $100 during a release weekend, but then when people were seeing, okay, well, it's a lot easier to pull special illustration rares than what we originally anticipated, Miriam started falling like crazy. Now it's lost over half of its value over the last 3 months. So beginning of July, it was sitting at $52.53. It's crazy how far this card has dropped. Lost 75% value since release. That's absolutely insane. 52.53 at the beginning of July was its 1 year high. It did drop down to about $37 in September, beginning of September, then started going up a little bit, but now it's fallen backwards again, sitting at $26 or sitting at $36.41 currently. So that's a 1 year low for that. I mean, it's crazy how far down it has dropped. Here's the Marne from Sword and Shield base. This card did really well. Obviously rotated out of standard play, so it's not necessarily going to be involved in competitive Pokemon anymore. So it's really just a collector card right now. Started going up quite a bit, and you can see the beginning of the climb, or the end of the climb at the beginning of July there, where it hit $82.04 right around the middle of July, and then it's backed off like crazy. So it's lost about 25% over the last 2.5 months. It's sitting at $62.60 currently, but continuing to trend in that downward direction. Here's Marnie's Pride. This one from the trainer. This one's from Brilliant Stars, I believe. This one also not doing extremely well right now, and it's lost again over 30% value over the past 3 months. It's sitting at $13.21 currently, which is just above its 3 month high, or 3 month low that it hit September 19th. It was down to $12.55, which is way off of its 3 month high, which it hit the beginning of July, $21.52. So a huge drop on that Marnie's Pride. Here's Phoebe from Battle Styles. This one also not doing very well right now. Beginning of July, it was selling for $25.65. This one's also lost about 30% of its value over the past month. It did drop to about $19.37 at the beginning of September. It's been relatively flat over the past couple of weeks, sitting at $19.53 currently. I know there's probably not a whole lot of people ripping Battle Styles right now, but any of these modern era sets, especially from the Sword and Shield block, Battle Styles on, probably printed quite a bit. So these full art supporters, very difficult to get a grasp on how they're going to perform moving forward. Here's Serena from Silver Tempest. Serena has gotten hit very hard over the past few months. You can see it sitting at $38.89 at the beginning of July. Kind of relatively flat over the next month, but then really hit a wall at the beginning of August and started dropping like crazy, sitting at $25.18, which is a 3 month low. You might see this card go down even further. It's not the most competitive card in the world. Because of that, it's only being really driven by collectors as more Silver Tempest packs get opened. Obviously, we had the situation with those God packs of Silver Tempest. A lot more Serenas being cracked open, and it just heading in the opposite direction. Here's the Lily from Ultra Prism that is continuing to just crush. I cannot believe, I don't know what the ceiling is for this card, but what it's done just over the last 3 months is absolutely insane. I mean, you're looking at a 20% growth over the past 3 months on a card that was already at $423. It's catching up to that Moonbryon territory. It might pass Moonbryon with how Moonbryon is moving backwards right now. Beginning of July, this one was sitting at $423.46, and it's jumped up almost $100 over the past 3 months. You can see it sitting at $507.89. Ultra Prism, obviously a set that was underprinted a little bit. Didn't get a whole lot of Ultra Prism on release, and then it got a really small reprint a couple years after it had already been released. But this Lily card has been absolutely nuts, sitting at that $507.89 mark and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Caitlyn is another modern card that looked like it was starting to get bought out a little bit, but now it's moved backwards a little bit. It's lost over 10% over the last 3 months. You can see at the beginning of August, it was at its 3 month high of $34.22. This one from Chilling Rain. It did drop down to $30.64 over the span of about a month and a half. It lost about 10% of its value. Now it has creeped back up a little bit and then went back down. It's sitting at $31.22 currently, but definitely a card to keep an eye on moving forward. Then we've got the Lusamine from Crimson Invasion. This one has not done very well over the past 3 months either. It's lost about 15% of its value in July. At the beginning of July, it was sitting at $51.52. A little bit slower of a drop on this one, but still sitting at $44.72 currently. Just has not seen many peaks over the last few months after rising at quite an alarmingly quick rate, sitting at $44.72 currently. Then we've got the Sonia, this one from Rebel Clash. This one also has not performed extremely well over the past 3 months. This one saw a real steep crash real quick. In the beginning of July, it was sitting at $46.26, and all of a sudden at the middle of April, so you're looking at a month and a half, it dropped about 20%, a little bit more than that, dropped all the way down to that $34.05 mark. Now it has started to come back a little bit, trending in the upward direction, sitting at $36.62 currently, but definitely a card you want to keep your eye on moving forward. Here's the Misty's Determination from Evolutions. This one has not done very well either over the past 3 months. Lots of evolution packs that have been cracked. There's still a lot of evolutions packs that are out there, people cracking them every day. Beginning of July, this card was sitting at $22.83, another card that's lost about 20% worth of its value over the last 3 months or so. It's sitting basically at a three-month low right now at $14.49, just about 3 cents above its 3-month low, but just really trending in the downward direction. Here is Alina. I believe this is the last card. You can see this huge gain that it had, where basically in the span of 2 weeks it was climbing up, 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 and then on July 21st it hit that 3-month high of $19.16. But now you're looking at about 30% of a loss over the past 3 months. 2.5 months really, since the end of July. It's really just gone downward. You can see that big steep crash on August 5th, basically, where it just fell apart, and then consistently flat over the last couple months here, sitting at $12.11 currently. So that's a 3-month high for that one. This is crazy to see some of these full art supporters get pumped and pumped and pumped and jump up to a certain level and then fall like madness, which is what we're seeing right now in some of these. Now, some of the other ones, a lot of other ones are doing extremely well, but these are ones that I wanted to point out in case you're somebody who is looking at purchasing some of these. Now might be the time to pay a little bit more attention to them, to add to your collection, depending on what your collection goals are. Again, if you appreciate the content, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment, because it does go a long way for the algorithm. Share the channel, whatever you guys can do, I really appreciate it. But thank you so much just for taking the time to sit here and watch me talk about the market. I really appreciate you guys. I love this stuff. I love Pokemon. Thank you so much for everything. I'll talk to you again in a couple days. Until next time, peace.